Hi friends, welcome to WebChamp. In this video, I am going to talk about how to create a drop down in CSS. Okay, so sometime there may be a situation in your navbar. Okay, so in your navbar, you might need to add more links. Okay, means how to add more links, or in your navbar, you have to add more than one links. Okay, so in that situation, drop down will be created, and drop down will help us to store the list of links in one view, and that is displayed when we over the mouse of one specific element of navbar. Okay, so I will show you what is a drop down. So in this way, let's say we have a navbar, and when I over the mouse on account, you are able to see the two links. First one is manage licenses, second one is sign in. This is a navbar, sorry, this is a navbar, and this is a drop down. So when I over the mouse on this help or account, it shows another div, right? And that div should be a virtual, means when we add a drop down content, we must need to declare that element or the that div as a display absolute, because it is a virtual. It is not going to disturb your layout of current page. Okay, I will show you everything in this video. Be stick to video, and let's go ahead with our drop down design. So what you need to do first, let's say I would like to have a div. Okay, don't start your design directly inside a body. Always take one container. Now inside a div, let's say I have a webcam or webcam. Okay, this is not a tag, this is a text. I will say h3 and a webcam. And if I go here and if I refresh here, you are able to see the webcam. What I will do, I have to add some properties to this. Okay, and here if I go here to the div, and I will add a property to the div. I will say okay, I will say display, or not a display. I don't think so it is required. So first I would like to move this h3 from its normal position. So for that purpose, I will say position relative, and when I say position relative, I would be able to move the div from its original position, and I will say left 0 pixel. Okay, if I say by default it is at a 0 pixel, I will say left 100 pixel. So you can see that it will take a 100 pixel from left side. And now you are going to see that the scroll bar is added to the page for 100 pixel. Earlier the design, I mean webcam is looking like this, now it looks like this, right? Means it has taken some space, and that is what going to add to the 100% width. Okay, and if I say top, no problem, we need not to worry about that part, how it is taking space and all. But I have to align the element in such a way that it should come somewhere in the middle of my page. Okay, to show you the drop down. Okay, instead of what I can say, instead of taking this, I will say instead of h3, if I wanted to increase the size, I will say h2. H2 is bigger than h3, right? Now I have to add the property to this h2. So what I will do, I will say h2, and I can add a color. Okay, color is, let's say, orange. Okay, just to make the difference. But I have to create a drop down. So what I need to do, whenever I wanted to create a drop down, I need to have one more element that will contain, or one more div that will contain drop down element. Means drop down text. What is the drop down text? Whatever would be there, and I will say, okay, instead of this, I will add ul, and inside a ul, I will add a li, and I will say html. Okay, what webchamp has html tutorials, then css tutorials, then javascript is coming soon. Let's say js. Okay, so this is how text I have, and this is displayed just below the this webcam as per the normal flow of web page. Now I don't want, or here I will declare, okay, what I will do here, I will declare class as a drop down, class as a drop down. Okay, and here I will declare as a class as a drop down text. Okay, drop down text or drop down image, whatever would be there, you can mention class name. There is no restriction. What this is, what the class name and all. As per your wishes, you can take the class name, but property should be given to the as per the css rules. Okay, first thing, I don't want to display this html css js. So for that purpose, we have a property called html. Okay, to hide the html element, we have a property called display none. I will use that property to hide this element, and I will say display, okay, not inline. Instead of that, I will say none. Okay, and it will hide those elements. Okay, now elements are hidden, that is fine, and I wanted to display these elements. Okay, I wanted to display these elements. Remember this, one thing I would like to add, drop down will not be applicable, or this will not work when we have two different elements, two different divs. Okay, so whenever you have to create a drop down, you have to create a drop down, that drop down content should be a child element of that drop down class, or drop down, whoever is going to take over the responsibility of drop down, or whatever, where you have declared the drop down class, the drop down text should be a child element of that element. If it is not, it will not work. Okay, and I will say, I will show you first, and I will say dot drop down. Okay, means when my cursor is over the this div, okay, I am going to add colon, I'm going to use the pseudo class over space, and on that, when the event, this event occurs, right, when I over the mouse, it should display the drop down text. Okay, and I will say display as a block. Okay, what I will do, I will go here and I will refresh, but you are able to see that it is not working, even that is not getting displayed, right? Instead of that, let's see the difference. What I will do, I will make the child element to this drop down. Okay, means what I did, I kept the div drop down text div into a drop down. Means this is a child element of this drop down div. Okay, now if I refresh this, and here you are able to see the content, right? So this is the way, this is the only way, that when you have to add the drop down content, drop down text, that should be a child element of drop down element. Means when your cursor, on which element your cursor is going to over, and then your drop down will be displayed if that is the child element of that element. So this is how drop down works. It's very simple. And these two property will help us to maintain. Okay, these other properties are I just added for the to show it conveniently. Otherwise, we don't need these two property will make your drop down. Right here, you can see your drop down is working. This is just a display none, and when I hover the mouse, but what element? Parent element. Okay, so for this div, the outer div is called parent div, right? And there is there is no relation between, we are not using the properties between these two elements or sibling elements. We are directly taking parent child relationship. Okay, so for the drop down, if I add a properties, means what? Okay, for drop down, I'll just add a background color and all. Okay, to show you background color. Okay, biscuit, and I will refresh this, so it will take. So you are able to see that it is not mandatory to over the mouse on the webcam name itself. If I over the mouse on any area of div here also, it will add the drop down. It will add the drop down. Okay, this is how drop down is created. Now it is fine. Okay, but there is a one problem. My drop down is taking 100% width. Okay, this should not happen. My parent element should not take in response. So what I will do, I will say display inline. Okay, and it will not take 100% width now. Even it is not taking any height and width. And when I over the mouse on the content, means whatever the content that div has, that is the only height and width of div, and that's why it is showing when I over. But if I, okay, still the area remains same. Okay, so this is how, since we have taken this div element, okay, and it is taking a default width, I have not given any width. So if I say display inline block, okay, no problem, I will use. And since we have not declared anything, now you can see that it is not taking the entire width, it is taking the width as much as it has. Okay, and the drop down is getting displayed. So you are able to understand the display inline block effect, right? So now I have to position this drop down. Okay, I can position this to left side or extreme right side, whatever. But if you want to change the position of this element, if you want to change the position of this div element, you need to use the position property. And what is that property? So I will say position absolute. Okay, and okay, position absolute I have added. Now you can see that it is not taking a space of that div. If I remove this, okay, if I remove this, that color is extending, means it is extending the height of this drop down parent element. But when I declare the position as a absolute, that element will be a virtual element. There will not be any relation between with respect to size. Okay, the drop down content will not affect the size of parent div. And here you can see that there is no change in background color of webcam or parent div. It is a virtual. Okay, it is a virtual. So this property is important. What I have to do now, I have to align these to right side. Okay, I will say by using the position absolute, I can use the left 0, right 0. Okay, and I will say right 0. But now you can see that when I say right 0, my content is displayed here. Okay, on extreme right. Okay, you can see the difference on right side. And I don't means what, where it is declaring, you can see that here the content will be displayed when I over the mouse here. Okay, so this should not happen. And to avoid this, what we need to do, we need to say parent position is relative. Okay, position relative. Now what it will do, it will restrict the child element. The child element should not move or away from its parent sides, and it will restrict the movement of absolute elements, absolute child element. And now my right side aligned elements are here. So this is how a drop down works. These property position absolute should be used for the text, that is drop down text. Means when we hover the mouse on any of the element, it should display. And we will use the position relative. There is a very strong relation that this position property is a very important role or important property of drop down. Okay, now this is about just to creating a drop down. Okay, later on you can add style, or if you can remove this list style type, and then you can change the color if you want. You can make this yeah, links as a button, or whatever you want to do, you can add the style as you want. Now my point is to I have to discuss navbar with drop down. So now what I will do, I will create a one navbar. Okay, and I will remove everything. Again, I will remove everything. Whenever you are going to design a web page content, you need to use the margin 0, padding 0. This should be a your routine practice. Don't start page design without declaring this universal property for all the element, margin and padding 0. It will remove default properties of any of the elements. Okay, so I will say div, and I will say class navbar. I will just discuss navbar design. Okay, and in my next videos I will discuss entire page design. Now div is we have taken and we have declared that div as a navbar. So inside a navbar we must have a list of items. Okay, and I will say items. Now this is what the content we are going to see pro in account, and for the account purpose we will add these two as a drop down. So now I will say li. Okay, and inside a li, if you want add, you can add anchor tag also, and I would like to say anchor. Then here I will declare a pro. The same thing I discussed in my previous video also, that is for the navbar design. And 5 elements are there. Okay, I will not take this button also. I just have to show this how to create a drop down in navbar. Okay, fine. Next is features, affiliated program, account, and help. I will go here, I will say help. I will go here and I will say features. Okay, features, not features, features. Then affiliated program. Okay, affiliated program. Later on we have here as a account, and for the account only we are going to add, or we are going to create a drop down. Okay, that is fine. First I will make the look of this list like a what we have, like a navbar. So I will say dot navbar. I will add a height to the navbar div, and I will say height of 100 pixel. Okay, that is fine. And I will say background color. Background color is very important when you are aligning elements. And I will pick any of the color. I will say this cornflower. Okay, this is how the background color is taken. Now I want this li element should be displayed as a horizontally, but before that, okay, I will display first that horizontally. For that purpose we need to use the float left property. Float will automatically add the display inline position, I mean display inline property. Okay, and if I say, or we can do it by using float also, we can do it by using display inline also. I will show both. And li. Okay, uli. So this is what you are already familiar. I'm just considering that you are familiar. If you have watched my all previous videos, you should be familiar. Okay, now li is there, and for the li I have to say I have to say by default it is display block. Okay, I will show you display block and there will not be any impact. But the moment I say display inline, what it will do, you can see here, entire list is horizontally aligned. And this is what we are going to do with float left also. Okay, so it is fine if we use display inline also. But if you want to add the height width to this CLI, then this should not be only in display inline. This should be a display inline block. Okay, and then it will work with height and width. If I say this, and if I say margin 100 pixel, okay, so it is taking up the margin. Okay, I will say 50 pixel margin it should take. Okay, later on if I change this to padding, okay, it is working, no problem. So this is how it works. And instead of that, if you want to use the float property, you can use the float left for all the li, and it will remain same. It looks like what we can say, that it looks like a display inline position. Means it is internally applicable. And later on I have to say, or I have to add a margin. Okay, but margin I will not add from all side. I will say margin left of 50 px. Okay, and here it is split deadline, means it takes left side, some space on left side. There is a dot on just before each list item. So if I wanted to remove that, what I can do, I need to declare dot navbar, or for the UL. Okay, this is a property of UL, that list style type I don't want. So if I say list style type none, and that dot will be gone. Now if I wanted to remove the underline, that underline is coming because of this anchor element. So I will say text decoration none. Style as you want, you can add. Now I want this, all these elements to be aligned at center. So for that purpose, I can do, I will say for the li line height, and I will say 100 pixel. Okay, line height should be equal to, if you want to align the elements vertically center, you must use the line height. Line height will only work with text, okay, not with images and all. And in that case, yeah, the whatever the height parent has, that should be equal to the line height, then and then only it will be aligned to the center. And here you can see that that is coming to the center. Okay, now I have to create a drop down for these. Means when I over the mouse on account element, it should pick. Okay, since I declared these for li, I will change the background color so that I can see the area of li. I will say blue violet. Okay, and it is taking, okay, because of line height, it will take 100% height as compared to parent, because of we have same line height. That is the effect of line height. If I remove this, you will see that it will take the only required height. Okay, this is how it works. Now I wanted to add some width so that it should looks beautiful. Every element should have a width, and I will say width of 100 pixel. Okay, and 100 pixel is not sufficient to store affiliated program content. I mean, that is a lengthy word, so we can make this as a 200 pixel. I hope that will be sufficient. Now yes, so this is how property affects. There is a very big impact of each and every property on the design, so you should be very careful. Now you can see that my text is not aligned at center, right? Or maybe I don't need that much height. I will say sorry, that much width. I will say 150 pixel, and that is sufficient now. And now it is looking good. Now I want to align this text to be at center. Okay, for that purpose, for the li only, I will add text align. Okay, at center. So my text is aligned at center. Okay, now we are good. I don't need this now. Okay, I don't need this background color now. This I just used that to see how a list elements are spreaded, or what height or what width they are taking as compared to parent. Okay, now my point is to add account drop down, or drop down to the account. So let's say this account link is one of my element, and this anchor has li as a parent, and we know for the parent only we have to declare the class as a drop down. So for parent I will say drop down, right? Then anchor will come down, it is fine. Then list will come down. I will make the content, or I will arrange the content in this way, that so that it will be easy to understand, okay, how this list is spreaded. Now I have to add one more div here, that will be a parent, or that will contain the list of drop down text. Okay, and I'm not going to add anchor tag here. Okay, so if you can add, and you can design accordingly, or you can apply the property to the anchor as per you as you want. So next is, I will say, or what is the content. Okay, original content we will consider, and I will say manage licenses and sign in. Okay, I have to add two links here. So for that purpose I am using, I will say manage licenses, and next is sign in. Okay, I have signed in, it is fine. But I have to say, or I have to declare, or I have to classify this element by adding a class to the, or class as a drop down text, or drop down content we can say, or only content. If you want, you can say content, that is fine. But to understand, or to get the detail for what purpose that class is used, I will say drop down content, or drop down text, whatever you want you can use, there will not be any restriction. So now we have a drop down, and if I go here, you will see that it is coming just below the account, just below the account. Okay, so now what I want, I don't want to display these elements, right? I don't want to display this element, but here you can see that these two elements are taking a line height. Okay, by default it is taking a line height that we have applied to the parent li, right? Here we have applied line height to the parent li, that is what taking, that is what taking. And if I wanted to distinguish between these two, okay, I can use different ways, or I can use different classes, or I can add one more class to this li to separate the inner li and outer li. Okay, but I don't think so that is a good idea. But if we use dissident selector, right? If we use dissident selector, it will apply the property for all the li. Okay, and to overcome this issue, as I said, that is what the good idea. I would like to say that I would like to add the class to this, and I will, instead of using li, I will use the class, so that it will apply the property. And what class is that? Okay, so the class is, I will say, main nav. Okay, main nav. I am just using this class, or I am just adding this class to li. Why I am adding? Because this nested list means we have, this is a first list item, and inside that list item we have another list item, right? So, and that is taking the property of its parent. That should not happen. To avoid that, I am taking this as a class. main now, so that it should not apply the property to all the li. Now I want this main now to be applicable for this parent li only. So for that purpose, what I can do, I can add many classes to this separated by space. Okay. And instead of this now, I will say dot main now. And I will refresh. Okay. Okay. Still it is taking, but the elements are okay, properly aligned. So if you try in this way, it will resolve the problem, but still we are applying property to again this li, and this is taking for this internal li also. Okay, and I don't want this line height to be applicable for this inner li. Inner li means what? Where is my li? Okay, here it is inside a drop down content. So I can add the property. I will say drop. Okay, drop down content space ul li, and for this li I will say line height, and line height I don't want that much bigger. I will say 50 pixel, and it may remove or it may reduce. Okay, line height is reduced. Now I don't want that much also. I will say 25 pixel, and it is removed. Okay, and here you can see that again my text is aligned at center as like we did for earlier. So we are overriding that properties. We are overriding that property. So if you want to use the main now, you can use the main now. Otherwise, you can say li, but let's say what it will affect. So it will not affect anything. Okay, that is fine. So there is no use of this main now. You can try. I just tried, okay, while saying this would work. But yes, in some cases, this will be helpful. So remember this, we can classify the list in this way using by adding the class new class to the list also, or we can add the multiple classes to the same item separated by space. Okay, now explicitly I have declared these properties, okay, for this eval also, and I don't want to align that text to the center. Instead of that, I will say text align left. Okay, so that it should look like this. Okay, now I have a container, but I don't want these to be displayed, right? I don't want these to be displayed. For that purpose, what I can do, I can say drop down content ul li, but instead of drop down content, okay, I will say drop down content space and display. Okay, I don't want to display this. I will say display none. Okay, and it is gone. Yes, that's what I want. And I will say drop down. Okay, drop down is my parent, and for the parent, what position we have to give? We have to give the position relative, so that it will not allow its child element to move out of its area by using what property? Display position. Oh, sorry, not display position, position absolute property. And I refreshed. Okay, it is fine. Now I have to show the content. I declared here how that content to be displayed, what height it should take, and whether it is aligned at center or whether it is aligned at left side, right side, whatever you want, you can declare. For that purpose, I used these properties only. But to create a drop down, I am using the property from here only. Okay, I will write here drop down creation properties. Okay, and first you need to declare the parent as a position relative. Okay, height and width, that is what we have already taken on the li level element, so that is fine. That will not be a problem for me. Now I wanted to display the this content. And how to display the content, you can see here also. Even I have declared or discussed earlier also by using div elements. Now we are taking li as a parent and div as a child. Yes, everything is possible with respect to your design. And I will say drop down content, and I will say display as a block. Since I have already declared this as a display, oh sorry, position absolute, no problem. But we earlier declared display none. Now I am going to declare this property, or this changing the display property to show the element. But when my cursor is over this account, means over the yali, and if I refresh this, you can see that that content is visible now. Yes, that is the drop down. What I will do, I will add background color so that you can see the how much area it is getting covered, and it is getting covered in this much area. That is sufficient. Okay, that is fine. That is fine. Now you can design these yali elements as you want, but it is taking you, it might taking some margin padding around it so that it is now it has some space to the right side, it has some space to the left side. That is what, because it is taking or height or parent size, parent width, that is width of 150 pixel, it is taking. That is the effect. That's why it is taking a that much amount of width. And if you want to show, I will add background color here for the li top notch or main li. You can see this. Okay, this is how it was. And by default, it has taken some space from left side. Right, by default it has taken, but we have declared this element as a position absolute. Right, this position as a absolute for drop down content. So here I can declare, I will say left 0. Okay, or left is not taking, then I will say minus 10 pixel. This should move my element, and it is moving. Okay, I will say minus 50 pixel, so that you can see that now these elements are, or this is aligned just below this. So using this left, right, bottom and top property, you can align the drop down anywhere you want. Okay, so this is how a drop down can be added. Okay, later on you can declare the many property, but my interest was how to add a drop down, means these three boxes. Okay, this is what, just to align the li and all. So this is the very interesting point, how to create. And always make sure that the drop down content should be a child element of drop down class, otherwise it will not work like a drop down, or you won't be able to see the drop down content elements when you over the mouse on drop down class element. So this is all about how to create a drop down and navbar with drop down. And here I would like to conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. Have a nice day.